Hello, and thanks for taking the time to join us today to hear about the most exciting new product to hit the marketplace in the last few decades. A product that might very well be the missing link to weight loss. A product that combats anti-aging and promotes radiant hair and nails, glowing skin, and on every front an overall sense of well-being and real results quickly. A product that means so much to so many people that keeping it a secret is next to impossible. I'm talking about our hydrolyzed collagen protein. I'd like to turn the time over to my dear friend Rena Davis, who has been studying amino acids and proteins for her entire professional career. Rena is also a practitioner, and she provides individualized healthcare protocols for her clients who come to see her from many, many countries around the world. She holds a Master of Science degree in Biochemistry, and she specialized in the field of nutrition. Rena has certification in Herbology, Homeopathy, and has a second degree of Reiki. She's also the author of several books and has written many research articles. Rena attended Portland Community College, UCLA, the University of Alaska, and Dominion. Rena has extensive experience with different collagen products and has done extensive research into collagen throughout her career. She's renowned for her knowledge on the subject. And when she found our hydrolyzed collagen protein and saw its makeup, she knew exactly what would happen when the public got their hands on it too. And she's with us here today to shed a little light on why our hydrolyzed collagen protein is so very important to each and every one of us and why our bodies are literally screaming for this product. So, Rena, I'm turning it over to you. The floor is yours.
Oh, thanks, Michelle. What a great introduction, and thank you very much for inviting me on your call tonight. And, you know, you're right. It is a subject that's near and dear to my heart and has been for, in fact, many years. And way back when, and boy, we're talking way back when now, when I was in school and I first began to understand the role of proteins in the human body, I knew that at some point in the future, healing arts were going to have to turn their attention to these extremely valuable amino acids and proteins called peptides. And, you know, it's kind of interesting, isn't it, that as we age and we see our hair texture change and our hair color change, our skin elasticity diminishes, the first age spots start to appear, we can eat good, exercise like an insane person and still seem to get bigger, add more body fat. Losing weight becomes nigh on to almost impossible without extreme measures. And, you know, isn't it interesting that at exactly that same time is when we all begin to experience our first senior moments? Well, if we go to basic biochemistry, the definition of the aging process is the breakdown of the collagen or the connective tissue of the human body. Now, how could that be the aging process? Well, let me tell you something. Every part of you, every organ, every system, even your bones, is basically supported by and strengthened by collagen. And metabolically speaking, because so many people on the call tonight are most interested in weight loss, it's very interesting to realize that by the time us girls are moving into our late 20s, early 30s, collagen production is already beginning to diminish. Now, that's very significant. So by the time we get around age 40, age 45, most of us are down by about 40%. Now, we get up every day and we go out in the world and we do our life. We get the kids to school, we clean the house, we make the bank deposit, we shampoo the dog, yada, yada, yada. We do all of those things. And then when we go to bed at night, in that first couple hours of sleep is when we begin to notice that percentage deficit, that 20, 30, 40% deficit. During that first 2 hours of sleep is when your body spends an enormous amount of energies, i.e. calories, to do repair and regeneration of your blood vessel wall, of your lymph vessel wall, of your stomach wall, your heart wall, your lung wall, your thymus gland, your thyroid gland. In short, we spend a tremendous amount of energy every day of our lives in repair and regeneration. And as we age and we don't make that collagen anymore and we don't make as much energy anymore, then we don't support that rebuild. So in the case of the human body, when organs and endocrines and systems begin to shrink, the production of whatever it is that they're producing for us also begins to shrink. And we experience this as aging. Now, there are many types of collagen, and collagen exists throughout all of nature. But in the human body, we basically have 5 types. Type 1 is what supports our bones, ligaments, tendons, and skin. Type 2 is cartilages and structures of the eye. Type 3 is liver, lungs, and arteries. Type 4 is kidneys and most of our internal organs. And type 5 is the surface cells, hair, and so on. And that's the smallest amount, probably 98, 99% of the collagen in the human body falls into those first 4 categories. Now, it's interesting what proteins can do in the body. We talk about proteins as being the building blocks of life, and most of us are pretty aware that amino acids recombine with one another in thousands of different molecular chains that literally make us up. They give us our hair, our skin, our bones, our neurotransmitters, our hormones, our enzymes, protective as well as digestive, our blood, our red cells, our white cells, our hemoglobin. It all happens because of these crazy guys called proteins. And as we age, we also know that we don't digest our proteins as well. In fact, we don't digest most of our proteins as well. And we also know that the need in the human body for protein goes up. Now, we know that the amino acids have this capability, but one of the things that isn't often spoken about is the protein of the body and its ability to hold information. This is extremely significant. The best example that I can give to everyone on the call tonight about how this process works is the day that you are born as a baby. The first 3 days of mother's milk produces something called colostrum. Colostrum is nothing more than chains of amino acids that hold the information about your genetic past with disease. And when that colostrum comes into the body, it literally gives the information to your immune system so that it can identify measles, mumps, flus, colds, and the list goes on and on and on. And in fact, the body's very ability to expand and learn, immunologically speaking, is because of proteins. So it's very interesting that what has been being noticed in the last several years is this ability for proteins to hang on to information, transmit information, receive information, and alter behavior. Let me give you an example of that. In the living blood, if a white blood cell encounters something that it doesn't recognize, in other words, let's say you went off to Chile and you got exposed to some contaminant that your body had no genetic history with, what would happen is one of your white blood cells would take a little bite of that. It would sample it and analyze it, and if there was nothing in his memory banks about it, he would go off and he would transfer that information to another kind of a white cell and another kind of a white cell. Pretty soon, if nobody knows what's going on, it comes back to the thymus gland. Thymus searches RNA looking for an answer. When it doesn't find it, it goes upstairs to the big boss, the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus then searches DNA and finds an answer, finds something similar enough to make an answer, sends that information back to your thymus gland. The thymus gland makes this great big cell called a protoblast. It gets ejected out into the bloodstream. It's a big clear cell. It's about 100 times bigger than a red blood cell. And what happens is your white blood cells find that, pop it open, and inside there are chains of amino acids. They eat that chain of amino acids, and they now know how to fix the problem and whose job it is. So this part about proteins is really very, very interesting. And one of the things that's being observed about proteins, especially when you can have a pure collagen protein like we have. Now, isn't it amazing that most of us on this line who have been interested in studying our own health have learned that, sometimes it's not what we eat, but how that food was raised as to how it influences us. Visi has gone to great extents to find this collagen from the purest source of grass-fed, pasture-raised beef. So we're not looking at bovine growth hormone residues. We're not looking at all those other toxicologies that can be present, even feeding that animal food it's allergic to and then having to give it antibiotics so that at some point it's healthy enough to become the steak on the dinner table. I think that that's really significant because we've learned that the purer and the more alive, the more food-based the proteins are, the more active they are in the human anatomy. And the body has great identity with this. So when it all boils down to brass tacks, how can these protein collagens help you and I? Well, first and foremost, when you can bring it in during the day, those proteins can put you back in control of your appetite. Now, this is pretty significant. You know, what we've had to deal with in days gone by pretty much are what are called appetite suppressants. Well, you know, the problem with a suppressant is that by and large they're all stimulants. And because of how stimulants work in your system, over time your body begins to do an end run. It becomes resistant to it. And it takes a little more and it takes a little more, and then pretty soon it doesn't work. And the meat of that we could do in another call someday. So it's really important to understand that inside of your body, inside of your chemistry, you have all of these various proteins. And these proteins do a number of incredible, amazing things for you. They have everything to do with your mood. They have everything to do with producing something called satiety hormones. You know, we don't make those so well as we get older. This is one of the problems with sacking on the saddlebags as we age, because it's very hard for us to eat and ever feel satisfied. Even though you can sit down, eat a meal, and know that your stomach is full, it seems that the body keeps saying, I want something, I want something, I want something. And you have to practically eat until you're a little stuffed porker before you're satisfied enough to stop. Well, the wonderful thing about the proteins, these natural proteins in this collagen, is it's the exact identity of the 5 types of collagen inside of you. And the body can use these proteins and these peptides in one of a number of different ways. And it's really pretty exciting. For example, one of the amino acids that's present in our protein collagen chews, I'm sure going to be happy when we know the name of this product, doggone it. Tyrosine is, maybe some of you know about it because it's essential for creating all your thyroid hormones. And, of course, your thyroid hormones are absolutely needed not only for growth but for metabolism, for energy production and management, and that greatly affects your weight, especially if you've ever been a person who's had any kind of thyroid issues. But one of the things that people don't talk about or seems to be less known about tyrosine is the body can use it to make dopamine, adrenaline, and noradrenaline. In this country, sometimes it's called epinephrine and norepinephrine. So tyrosine not only affects your thyroid gland, but it also affects your adrenals. And it's also critical in making something called encephalins, and that's spelled E-N. Cephalins. Encephalins are the things that help you tolerate pain and help downregulate inflammation naturally in the body. Now, we could probably spend a couple of hours just talking about individual amino acids, but the magic of having this collagen in these particular forms that are exactly identical to your own, it sort of wakes up the body and it says to the body, geez, do you remember this stuff? Wouldn't it be nice to have it back? Wouldn't it be nice to get back your organ weight, density, and size? And in a matter of usually a very few days, you're beginning to notice some benefits. Now, I recommend that you kind of give yourself a little body survey. Look at the age spots on your skin. Do the pinch test on the back of your hand to see how dried, how hydrated, and how elastic your skin is. Take some notes of things like spider veins and varicose veins. Feel your hair and see if there's a great variety in the texture in your hair. Take a look at your fingernails. Are they slow growing? Do they tend to peel? Do you tend to get hangnails? Note these kinds of things down. Make notes about your appetite and what you're craving. And then the only thing left for you guys to do is to figure out exactly when to take your collagen chew. And you've got several options. Now, proteins are interesting characters. You know, one of them decides to throw a great big party, a grand masquerade ball, and they all get dates and they go. And when the party breaks up, they all leave with different partners. So it's really important to understand that when you take your collagen chew, you want to do it on as empty a stomach as possible to get the greatest benefit, because when it mixes with other foods, as I said, it may pair up with something and go do something else in the body, but may not target the very things that we're looking for in terms of anti-aging and metabolism. Then you can choose to do it first thing in the morning. You can do it before lunch. You can do it before dinner. You can do it before bed. My personal preference is to take it first thing in the morning and again around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. For me and for many people in this country, this is the time when we all kind of get that low energy dip. We're looking for the cup of coffee and the cookie or a nap. And if you take it about a half hour before that normal fatigue sets in, you'll find that your fatigue diminishes and your stamina comes up. And that's in part due to asparagine, aspartic acid, glycine, and glutamine, and several others of the principles in here. But a number of people have found that works best by taking it first thing in the morning, and again on an empty stomach just a few minutes before going to bed. You're going to have to play around with it and find what works for you, but I think you're going to find that anything that the body can identify with as rapidly as it can this particular type of protein, you can be amazed in a short amount of time. Now, some of the fun things that you can look forward to, I mean, most people who are fighting the battle of the bulge have been doing it for a long time, one program after another after another. I can raise my hand to that one. And way back when, collagen was the thing that made all the difference in my life. And I'm so delighted not only to have this particular collagen, but to have this delivery system. You know, it shouldn't escape any of you that there is a real magic here that has happened with this chewable form of collagen. Number one, the company has got to be applauded because it actually tastes pretty doggone good. In fact, I like it well enough that I have to slap my hands when I had it to keep from eating an extra one just because I liked it so much. And when we chew things, the body identifies chemistry almost the very minute you put it on your tongue. It's that quick, and it's a good thing energy works fast in the body, because if it didn't, your brain couldn't tell your heart to beat, your stomach to digest, or your kidneys to filter. It would be a pretty big mess. So this ability to identify energetically is pretty specific to utilization. When you can have great identity with a compound and you put it in the body, you can actually see some pretty miraculous changes in a very short period of time. Most people aren't aware that many of the body's chemicals are changed about every 21 days, and that your blood is flying in there in a vacuum at hundreds of miles an hour, and you can begin to make changes in as short a time as 20 minutes when something hits the bloodstream. Significant changes. So one of the things that I've always loved about having quality collagen, and this is the first one that's been around in a mighty long time, is the fact that when you lose weight and improve organ weight density, size, muscle tone, ligaments, and tendons, now think about that for a minute. When you start to build that stuff up, it has some very powerful long-term benefits, because as you restore muscle, as you restore organ weight density and size, and we're not out in la-la land now, this has been proven, the factory is going to start spending more of your energy every day. The muscles are going to burn up more calories brushing your hair, vacuuming the car, washing the floor, taking care of the kids, whatever you do. So this not only helps you get your metabolism back, but it keeps it back. Excuse me, you guys. I am in clinic. I've talked so much I got to get just a little drink of water. Mucho better. Now, one of the what I call fringe benefits of having, this supplement is the fact that you're going to lose more inches per pound drop than anything else you've ever done. Now, this is really important because with many of the protocols that are available for people to choose to use today, you're doing pretty well if you can drop about 1 inch for every pound of body weight dropped. Now, the problem with that is, and the studies clearly show us, that a high percentage of that weight loss is not fat. It's coming from lean muscle mass, and that's the gotcha. When you start burning up your lean muscle mass, you start burning up your calorie burning area, and when it's all said and done, you have a slower and slower metabolism. When you work with the collagen supplementation, like we have here, and like I said, it's the first really quality thing I've seen in many years, you not only get your metabolism to rev up, get your appetite under control, improve your mood, increase your body strength, your lean muscle mass, the elasticity of your blood vessels, even in many cases your vision, then what happens all around is you've sort of rebuilt the structure. It's sort of like having a six-cylinder car that every time you start it up and drive it down the road, it coughs and sputters because it's so far out of tune. When you tune that thing up, it runs like the lean, mean machine that it should, and we are not unlike that at all. So, Michelle, I forgot to ask you how long this call was. I could go on, as you know, forever and ever, and so I need you to give me a little guidance here.
Well, we were a few minutes late. If you've got a few more points you'd like to make, please, by all means, take another couple of minutes.
Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay. So one of the things that when we're looking at rebuilding the structures of the body, then we're starting to really talk about degenerative disease. You know, degenerative disease literally is defined as the breakdown of the connective tissue of the human body and the aging process. So many people get on a real high quality, when they can get on a real high quality collagen supplementation, they begin to notice all kinds of really interesting things, like old aches and pains tend to go away. You know, the story about the guy who broke his toe, and he always knew that the weather was going to change before the weatherman could figure it out because it was so sensitive to changes in barometric pressure. Well, many times when we've had injuries and even surgeries, your body will go back in and it'll repair things to a point of where it's functional, but not to a point of perfect. Now, part of that is age. Part of it is because the body is busy and there's so many gazillion signals going along and demands for help happening every minute. And a lot of it has to do with how much collagen production or collagen availability there is for meeting the demand of repair. So don't be surprised that if you're a person who injured your knee or injured your toe or injured a shoulder many, many years ago, all of a sudden you suddenly find that pain, inflammation is not only better, but the flexibility will improve. And we have just literally, I have studied this subject and worked in this area for many, many, many years, and I've seen it over and over again, literally thousands of times. And so there is a lot to look forward to, but the foundation of it all is that when you can restore the protein structures of the body, you have more calorie burning area, you bring your metabolism back up, the systems begin to work better. Chemistries, even digestion will improve. Arginine has a great effect on the gut and other digestive parts of your system. And so we begin to look at something that's a little bit like the fountain of youth, don't we? That one thing that we've all been looking for since the days of Ponce de Leon, and nobody ever really knew it was here. It doesn't answer 100%, but I'll tell you what, when you can strengthen the main frame of the human body, the bones, the muscles, the ligaments, the tendons, the neurotransmitters, the enzymes, the glands that produce your hormones, and sort of get out of the body's way, get a little giggle once in a while, eat the very best diet that you can to support those processes, and you might be amazed how in 30, 60, or 90 days the people aren't stopping you on the street, if not before, and asking what you're doing because you're looking so doggone good. And it's not just going to be about dropping weight. The last thing that I want to say, and probably one of the most important for anybody who's ever really had to seriously fight the battle of the bulge, I'm not talking about those out there who only need to lose 10 or 15 or 20 pounds. I'm talking to the people who've really had a challenge, that need to lose 40, 50, 60, 100 pounds. You know, with every protocol that's been developed medically, people can get this weight off. They can work with coaches, they can exercise, they can rebalance their diet. There's lots of things that can be done to help get there. But in the final analysis, one of the worst things that people face is the saggy, baggy skin after they have this weight loss. And very often, even with exercise, the saggy, baggy muscles. With collagen supplementation, that just simply does not happen. And that's one of the reasons that you see such a high number of inches dropped on the body for every pound reduced. Your target goal should always be at least 2 inches for every pound. And when you know you get to 3 and 4 inches per pound, you know that you are burning 100% fat and you are not sacrificing 1 drop of lean muscle mass anywhere in the body. The beauty of this thing is that we're not stimulating anything. We're rebuilding. We're beginning to spend our calories rebuilding systems that will support us in healthy aging for the rest of our lives. And that, to me, is probably the most important thing that we could ever do for ourselves, our families, our parents, all the way across the board. So, Michelle, I want to thank you for inviting me tonight. I'm sorry if I went a little bit over. It is my favorite subject and something that I'm looking forward to hearing everyone's results now that it's going to be shipping here in just a few days. It's pretty exciting.
Wow, Rena, that was incredible. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us.
My pleasure.
And to all the listeners, thank you for taking the time to listen to this audio today. You know, there's only one place to find and purchase this product, so please get back to the person that thought enough of you to share this information with you and ask them how you and your family can get started with this hydrolyzed collagen protein today so that you can experience its life-changing benefits and feel better, feel younger, and more vibrant. Thanks again. We look forward to hearing your hydrolyzed collagen protein success stories really soon.